Looking for the best astrology guidance? You can enjoy an entire month of personalized astrology services for just $3.99. At Serious Joy, we pride ourselves on providing astrology enthusiasts with exactly what they're looking for: daily personalized inspiration that speaks directly to the heart. Sign up today and you'll receive personalized messages straight to your phone 7 days a week. And that's just half of it. You'll also get access to our exclusive members-only site with tons of amazing features. Experience the most accurate astrology service on the web at seriousjoy.com.
Hello, my friends and fellow love workers and love walkers. Welcome to Namaste Today Live. I'm your host, Sensei Christopher Witecki here. We are coming to you live on several platforms across the internet. We are on Facebook, we are on YouTube, we are on LinkedIn. We are also even streaming to Twitter right now. It's so nice to see everyone here. It's a pleasure to be of soul service. And I want to say hello to everyone here in our chat. Hello, everyone, and we'll say hi to a few people here. Nice to see everyone. I'm looking here at my stream for YouTube, and I'm not seeing myself stream to YouTube for some reason. I'm not sure why. So, okay, let me know. If my moderator can let me know, are we live on YouTube? That's my question, because it looks like, okay, it looks like we're saying hello. For some reason, my own feed isn't working well. I don't know why for YouTube, but it looks like we're here. All right, just making sure. Are we live here? Just making sure. Hi, hello. Okay, awesome. Thank you, AD. I appreciate that. For some reason, my monitor is not showing me live there, so I'm going to totally go live. Hi, everyone. So nice to see you. I'm getting used to this live thing. This is Namaste Today Live. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Sensei Christopher Witecki. I'm an astrologer. I'm a natural empath and psychic, and I've been practicing now for about 17 years. This is my 17th year. I did have one forced hiatus last year, but I'm back on the air, and it's such a pleasure to be of service. We are currently in a very spectacular moment in human history. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about how we are diving in to a Venus retrograde. We have a fantastic full moon in Aquarius this week, which we'll be talking about, I believe, which will be a turning point to the story you were born to live. We have Mercury opposing Saturn this week, so we are going to get very serious with ourselves. But first, let's just talk real quickly about what's going on. If you're not familiar, I am the owner of a series called Serious Joy, the Serious Joy application. It's an astrology service, basically. And what we do is we take your date of birth and we serve the community. Every day, we give you 7 messages of encouragement. We have a daily pep talk. And right now, we are doing what we call the 40 days of self-love. And I want to put out there, it is not too late to join. This week is really when we finish up the first chapter of the 40 days. And we have a whole team dedicated to helping you get through this historical moment. I'm looking here for my notes. Here we go. What we're going to be doing here is if you join right now, you can still actually catch up to where we are. Everything is archived in our services. And if you can join before the full moon, you will actually still be on the bandwagon. We have some archangel work with Devin Dewar, our archangel intuitive. She's helping us with Archangel Ratziel. We have heart chakra activation with Kristen Ryder going on. We have lectures on metaphysics of self-love with Robbie Hunt. We have essential oils and daily summaries by Heather Exposito. And myself, I am doing a special Venus retrograde prompt every day for journaling, and also our heart chakra telepathy, learning how to speak to the heart. So if you are interested in being a part of this, you can sign up for just $3.99. This lasts for 40 days. We're a few days into it, but you can still catch up. And what you want to basically do is visit seriousjoy.com to be a part of it. We hope to see you there. It's daily guidance and it's daily support. And one thing we've started doing that's new is that we now have 2 levels of teaching going on at Serious Joy. We have the entry level, which is teaching you the basics of the 12 steps and how to understand your own awareness and maximize on your awareness. And then we have now a master level. We're starting to do master training at Serious Joy, and we'll be rolling out more master training as this summer progresses. So no matter what level you're at, we're a little red schoolhouse. And the most important thing is, basically, as you can see here in our chat, in our captions, that the best part about Serious Joy are the subscribers, the people, and the community. There's no other community like it. It is behind a closed, fenced off digital yard. So you can come, you can be yourself, and you can explore your heart right now. This is, and I'll say this here when we go into all of our planetary discussions, this Venus retrograde in Leo is, in my opinion, the most profound Venus retrograde we've had in our entire life, and the most important one, because we are getting to the heart of what our heart really wants and wants to be. Okay, so I am getting, so yeah, interesting. I'm getting a, so I am getting a notice that I'm not live, but I did have JD say I am live. So that's kind of strange. Let me see here. Hold on a second, folks. We're going to troubleshoot here and see what's going on. Just in case. Someone said I was viewing, I'm viewing on YouTube. I am viewing, but I'm not. So this is part of live TV. Sorry for the delay. Can we get one more confirmation from a YouTuber? Okay, so someone said on YouTube they had to go out and come back in order for it to be live. Okay, actually we're not live on YouTube. Okay, so some people, okay, so I'm getting mixed opinions here on whether or not we're live on YouTube. Some say we are and some say we are not. That's really strange. All right. Yes, you're live. Okay, strange. All right, so people are watching live on YouTube, but my own feed is saying no. So, okay, I don't know what that is. I'm going to actually, okay. Oh, I guess someone on a smart TV says it's live. And it shows live on my feed. Okay, now it shows live. Sorry for that. I think every week we're going to have a hiccup like this, you know, somewhere. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Robbie. And thank you, Eben, for your feedback. It looks like on YouTube, if you're watching, well, if you're not on YouTube, everyone in chat, tell people to refresh on YouTube to see yourself on YouTube. But I am seeing myself finally on YouTube. All righty. Okay, let's dive in. Wow. Such a pleasure to be live. Next week, I'm going to have a little bit more help actually running the show. I'm sort of a one-man band. I've got like a horn going and drums, and my foot is like doing another thing, trying to do live TV. It's pretty fun. So where are we? Well, we are about to approach the month of August, and we're coining August Finding Your Inner Merlin. And that's because I believe that as we go into this next month, we're going to be clearing out some of the core stuff in our heart chakra, things that are keeping us from pursuing our dreams. That's really where we are this week. We'll be talking about doing those finishing stages. But then as we move into the month of August, I believe we're going to start to find that magic again in our heart. And I don't care how old you are, I think that we are being rekindled. I think if you want to see this in live action, keep your local Leo handy, because we can just watch the Leos and what's going to happen to them. But the earth is being re-inspired and reignited with the principles of self-love, the magic of creativity, and what I call our golden egg project, or our golden age, which is creating the life you've always wanted, or the miracle you've always wanted to create. So before we dive in, I think it's time to go on to our zodiac weather. Let's do our 7-day zodiac weather moodcast, and then we will dive into what's happening for your neck of the woods. Here we go. This zodiac weather is from Saturday, July 29th to Friday, August 4th, 2023. Looking at your weekend forecast, the weekend proves to be light and airy. We're going to open up our hearts. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's sunny and feeling rather shiny. Step 6 is the ruling step number of the day, which means our hearts are opening up now to accept our self-love on a new level. And with the moon crossing the galactic center, you're also feeling your fate change. On Sunday, it's cloudy and a little swampy. Swampy because it's time to forgive yourself and release the past. Step 7 is the ruling step number, connecting you to your higher self. And with the moon in Capricorn, you might feel a little serious. Looking at your 5-day mood forecast, on Monday, it's sunny and diligent. Step 8 means it's time to commit to a new protocol of self-love. And the moon enters into Aquarius and begins its countdown to the full moon status. On Tuesday, it's sunny in Quantum. It's a full moon in Aquarius on Tuesday. We are putting our new self-love into absolute motion. Mars will trine Jupiter and Mercury oppose Saturn, which means ultimately this is a transformative day where you begin to pick up your wand and begin your Merlin magic. On Wednesday, it's sunny and social. Step 9 and step 10 are the ruling steps of the day, so it's time to move forward now and put that self-love into action. By the end of the day, you are manifesting a new foundation of self-love. On Thursday, it's sunny and sacred. Step 10 to step 11 means you are now manifesting new heart chakra healing. And with the moon crossing Saturn in Pisces, you've also come to a new karmic realization about yourself. And then on Friday, it's partly sunny with a chance of butterflies. Step 11 means you are coming into a new awareness about self-love integrity. And with the moon in Pisces, you're feeling your fortune turning toward the better. All right, and we're back. Hope you enjoyed that. That's our 7-day mood forecast. We got to integrate it into the show this week, and I'm super pleased. Thank you. Special thanks to Sarah and Miles for getting that underway, particularly Sarah. You rocked it. Thank you. Well, folks, we are really in, I think, a magical time right now. I'm excited to be reporting in this time. I'm really grateful that I was able to snap back and be here for the public in this moment, because the more I look at what we have before us, the more excited I get for our future. We are here now to manifest our heart's desires, and we are moving now to what I call the story we were born to live. And with that, let's begin our planets and transits. So this upcoming week that we are about to have I have to, I'll be honest. I love being dramatic. I have a Leo moon and a Leo rising, so I love to add a little bit of whipped cream and sprinkles on everything in a very unicorn sort of way. But I think I'm being realistic when I say this next week may be one of the most important weeks of your entire life. And the reason for that is because we are going to now put on the finishing touches of reorchestrating or re-architecting our self-love. Now, if you've been studying with me for a while, you probably know how important I feel self-love actually is. To me, self-love, first of all, is our nature. I think if you look into nature, if you look at a deer or a squirrel or even a rabid coyote, there is an innate self-love that keeps us alive and keeps us moving. But as we have matured, if you want to call it that, through modern civilization, we have developed our minds, we developed science and reason, and we've also developed an inner critic. And over time and over these centuries, because we've been focused on survival and whatnot and not thrival, we have stepped away from loving ourselves. We have stepped away from operating out of the center of our heart. And we have instead operated mostly out of our mind and our ego, triggered more by the consciousness of fear than we've been motivated by the consciousness of love. So I think no matter who you are on the planet, we haven't been raised in our culture to live a heart-centric life. And I believe that the secret ingredient to enlightenment and the secret ingredient to world peace is, in fact, self-love. Now, self-love is not the same thing as being self-centered or arrogant or narcissistic. Those are ego-driven motives. And yes, it appears that a narcissist loves themselves, but if you've ever read a narcissist, which I have, or been in a relationship with a narcissist, you know that they're not loving themselves. That's why they have predatory behavior in order to feed off of the love energy of other people. So although it may appear as people love themselves a whole lot, the truth of the matter is people do not, as a rule. So the fundament of my work on earth has always been to raise the caliber of self-love. And I believe that if you love yourself authentically and you feel loved and appreciated by yourself, then you will automatically love and appreciate your neighbors, your family members, and you'll be more compassionate and patient with the people in your life that may trigger you or cause conflicts. So self-love, I believe, is a key. Now, that said, with this Venus retrograde and the sun now in the early degrees of Leo, the reason why this is the most important transit of your life is because we have we have three major things going on at the same time that when you add them together, gives us a spiritual life makeover. The most important one, of course, is the sun. The sun in Leo happens every year in Leo, but this year, not only do we have the sun in Leo, but we have a Venus retrograde from the top of Leo all the way down to step 12 Leo. So what this means is, as we move forward to clear out our pain and our traumas in our heart, we're at the same time reconsidering our creative potential and our love potential on earth. So we're not only raising our self-love vibration like we do every year, but we're doing it at a time where we have the ability to Venus retrograde and clear the heart from past life and karmic issues, clear out old creative projects and heart attachments, clear out associations with certain relationships that may hold us back while we're at the same time moving forward. And this scissor effect of having the sun and Venus come together, which is known as a cazimi, which will happen later on in August, this moment allows us to not only clear out what's in the way and what's holding our heart back, but at the same time move forward with the manifestation of what our heart really desires. And so this scissor effect in Leo is really the only time I've seen it in my lifetime, because Venus hasn't retrograded strictly through Leo in our lifetime. And therefore, I believe is the launch of our heart being the ruler of our life. So first and foremost, I will say this. It doesn't matter what you have lived up until now. I believe that what we have lived up until now was us getting reacquainted with our karmic issues with ourselves, our self-sabotage, echoing past lives where love was not present whatsoever in our life, and getting to understand our own personal nature and where we're coming from. It's only now as we move forward that I believe that our heart is really going to be potentially the center of our creation, and we have the best opportunity to creating our life of love and joy and also magnificent genius creativity. So this week is the most important week of your life, because this is the week where you decide to commit to your heart or not, and really launch this availability, this opportunity the universe is giving us, again, for the first time in our lifetime. So the theme of this week is committing to magical self-love. And prior to this, we were working on simple self-love, but this week we're going to commit to magical self-love. And I'll talk about what I mean by that here in a few moments. The subtitle for the week, or the subplot of the week, that's another way of looking at it. I'm sort of putting it in terms of plots now, because we have many storylines going on, is investing in the golden egg. So as we commit to loving ourselves magically this week, we're also committing to what we want to create with that purified heart and with that heartfelt intention. Now, the key question to ask yourself this week, and if you take notes in my show, this is what you want to probably take notes on: the theme, the subplot, and the question of the week. The question of the week is, what am I innovating? And I say that because when it comes to our creation, we're in a magical moment right now where it's time to push the envelope of what's possible. This is a major innovative moment in history. And there's a lot that speaks to that this week. One being, for instance, Uranus at 22 degrees Taurus, which is squaring Black Moon Lilith at 22 degrees Leo. That's pushing for innovation. But also we have Neptune in the high degrees of Pisces pushing for the next spiritual chapter. We have Pluto reorganizing our power at the highest degree. So therefore, this is a moment where not only are we coming into the opportunity to create, but we're coming into the opportunity to create something we've never seen before. And given a yod, which I will show you in today's chart, when we go in to talk about today's chart a little bit later, before our tea time, in this particular moment with this yod, the universe is saying this: the answer to our prayers is what we create with our creativity and our love. That's the answer to our prayers right now. So for this upcoming week, this week goes from Saturday, July 29th, all the way to Friday, August 4th. So this show covers from the 29th to August 4th. During that time, we're going to move from 6 degrees Leo, step 6 Leo, to 12 degrees Leo, almost 13 by the end of it. And the reason why it's not a full 7 steps is actually because the steps are starting to move. In the summer, Earth actually moves faster. So we end up getting more accomplished. We cover more territory, and the step numbers start to move around the clock. So we will hit 13 later in the week, on the weekend, but we're on the verge of that. So pretty much from step 6 to step 12. Now, in that time, we're going to go through 2 phases with our heart. The first phase is in the beginning. So over this weekend and moving on until Tuesday, what our heart is doing is coming to a full commitment of self-love. So what self-love means for you. And, I do believe that for each of the signs, this probably comes down to a specific topic. And I'll be talking about in today's tea time where that self-love needs to be epicentered for you. So, self-love is such a broad spectrum of a concept. Ultimately, I think for every person, it probably comes down to a specific issue you've been working on with yourself. So self-love for you may be that you finally raise the bar with your health. Self-love may be that you step away from toxic relationships. Self-love for you may be that you change your mindset to be positive. And I'm thinking of Geminis right now when I say this, that you adopt a positive mindset, or that you adopt believing in yourself and refuse to stop denying what you do believe about yourself if you're a Sagittarius. So likely self-love epicenters around one area of your life. And by mastering that epicenter, I want you to know, it's going to spread to the rest of your relationship to yourself. And we'll talk about that in tea time for each of the 12 signs, where that self-love must begin and where it will spread from that point. Now, as the sun is in Leo, the earth is in Aquarius. And Aquarius is the energy of where we belong and where we don't belong. Basically, the spectrum of Leo is what your heart loves to Aquarius, where it belongs on earth. So from what I love about myself and what I love about life to where that belongs. As we are stepping into a new self-love narrative in our hearts, the earth in Aquarius is manifesting a new belonging as far as where we belong next to ourself, inside of ourself. We belong aligning with our heart, for instance, and we don't necessarily belong aligning with our ego. But at the same time, we're going to be detaching, and that's part of the superpower of Aquarius, is to detach and to attach. Those are the 2 superpowers of Aquarius. When Aquariuses are attached, let's say, to something they believe in, like the freedom of free speech, you'll see an Aquarius very attached to that concept. But if an Aquarius doesn't really agree with you, you'll see that they ghost you, so that they disappear. And actually, our metaphysical minister, Robbie Hunt, who is a Grand Master Aquarius, explained to me this week, which I think it makes a lot of sense, that a lot of the reasons why Aquarius is detached is so that they can see the bigger picture. They can see the real reason for things happening, and then they get closer. But in a personal life and in your individual story this week, I believe what you are doing is detaching from heartache and from certain traumas that your heart has experienced. In fact, that is really going to be what the essence of the full moon in Aquarius is. The full moon in Aquarius is going to be where we let go of certain emotional, heartfelt dramas, pains, and traumas. And believe me, it won't happen overnight. It has to happen from the intention for it to happen. So the full moon is a sort of a ceremony that we intend to let go of certain heartaches. And by doing that, you'll be able to embrace the new self-love and move on to the story you were born to live and away from the story you were born to. And I believe that heartache and those pains, that all harbors around the story we were born to. So also going on in the Leo energy, as I mentioned, is as we are in this first chapter of Leo from Saturday until Tuesday, the full moon, you are completing your new relationship of self-love to yourself, and you are detaching from anything that hurts the heart, weighs the heart down, prior traumas to the heart. I'm not saying deny. I'm saying that to no longer invest your heart into the actions, the situations, or maybe even the relationships that have been toxic and held you back from really standing in love, enjoying your life. And because we're talking about a relationship to ourselves, and because this full moon is at step 9, I'll be showing the chart of the full moon, it's quite likely that it's behaviors with yourself that have to be ending right now, and new behaviors with yourself that must be beginning. That's what I believe it's going to be. So with that said, we also have, at the same time as we are stepping into our heart, we have Black Moon Lilith and Venus in the high degrees of Leo. Black Moon Lilith is moving forward. Venus is moving retrograde backwards. And as we come into this new relationship with our heart this week, we're at the same time monitoring, I'm trying to get my camera organized, same time monitoring and focusing our creative energies for what we want to create with this new cleared out and high vibration heart. So what do we want to manifest with this? And we're reconsidering. Now, at the same time, because Venus is retrograding, you likely are going to be detaching from creative investments that don't serve you anymore. And you don't have to necessarily kill a project, but you probably would put it on the back burner this week. If it's not working for you. This would be, maybe you were attempting to go for something, it just didn't work out, or the resources aren't there. We're also probably detaching from certain investments of our heart to other people and to organizations that no longer service our life and serve us in a good way. So the Leo energy this week is really twofold. You have at the very beginning of the Leo energy, your relationship to your own heart and how you are raising your self-love vibration for your ascension and for your enlightenment. And you have you pulling away from and reversing course or ending your investments in master creative or master love investments that no longer serve your greater good. And this is the energy of the heart that is working. And these two forces are working toward each other for what I call the Kazemi, which will happen at step 20 for those who are curious. So the major plot is this love plot right now. And the reason why, again, it's so important is because we've never had the opportunity to completely clear out our heartfelt vibration of Leo like this particular moment. So another theme going on right now, of course, has to do with Black Moon Lilith. Black Moon Lilith is up there with Venus, and this is allowing us to face our traumas and our heartache that have hurt us in the big picture of things. So if you were cheated on, if you invested in something and lost it all, if you had a creative project you couldn't bring to term, if you have lost someone dear to you, someone has passed away, all of our trauma that involves our heart being misled or our heart being broken or hurt, this trauma, unfortunately, is coming up this week, I think, in a big way, and must be cleared for us to be able to move forward with what we creatively really want. So we have to sort of face our failures and what has not worked for us in the past in order to be free and clear of moving forward. And Black Moon Lilith is squaring Uranus at 22 degrees, which tells me that it'll be this week that we likely have a breakthrough of facing whatever trauma or drama or heartache keeps us from wanting to go for the real big dreams again. And because that energy is squaring Uranus at 22 Taurus, it then frees us to manifest things we have never manifested before. And that's one of the themes we'll be talking about here in just a moment with the Taurus energy, that this is why I ask, what am I innovating? Because we're not going to do anything like it has done before. If you are going to create a movie or you're going to write a book or Whatever you're going to do, the universe is calling for us to reinvent the wheel, to take things to a higher level, to try things that have never been tried before. And this is one of the big reasons I think that we have to clear our heart chakra of our old losses and face our pain and our trauma with Black Moon Lilith, because we're going to need all of our self-love juice we can get into the equation. So this is the big spectrum and the main theme of the week of committing to our magical self-love and investing in our golden egg. Now, another plot going on, which I've been discussing, but it really starts to get, I think, a bit intense this week, is reality. You might have been a little triggered by reality this week. One of the things that we had happen, actually, I'll just put out there, is a lot of technology. When Venus went retrograde, at Serious Joy, we had a lot of technology issues happen. Actually, just now, I just had a technology issue with YouTube not going live for some and not for others. So I just want to put out there that that's definitely happening right now. And I think it might be because the Venus retrograde is opposing Aquarius, and Aquarius is electricity, and Aquarius is technology. And so having Venus, I think, move backwards, opposing it, might be what's causing little hiccups in technology. But we certainly see a lot of themes of the hiccups. But the other aspect going on is we have Mercury and Mars both in Virgo. Mercury just recently moves into Virgo, I think actually did today, actually. If I remember my own message that came through. Mercury moved into Virgo today. And this means our mind moves out of sort of la-la, which is when it's in Leo, our mind is sort of dreaming and a little bit butterfly-like and unicorn-like, and our mind is kind of off in fantasy. And this week, you'll find that things get really real. With Mercury in the first degrees, Mercury moves from 0 to 9 degrees Virgo this week, which means your mind is going to be hypercritical and hyper aware of your relationship to yourself. So I believe what is going to happen is this is going to serve as an opportunity to up your self-love game. Your mind is going to be very aware of that pimple on your cheek. Your mind's going to be very aware that your clothes aren't fitting well. Your mind's going to be very aware that your energy is lower, that you're tired. Mercury in those first degrees of Virgo is hypercritical, hyper aware of anything that's not perfect, anything that's not well, anything that is sick, which is the same thing as not well, I suppose, and anything that might be broken or need to be fixed. Now, I believe this is useful information. We need to know what's not working with us, but we don't need to dwell on it. Again, we want to create magical self-love. And it's not very magical for you to dwell on something you can't change or something you can't change immediately in lieu of loving yourself unconditionally. So this is why I think this is one of the most important weeks of our life, because we happen to be going through this profound new definition of self-love. And with Mercury in Virgo, we can actually expose our mental corruption, where our mind will work against our happiness, and our mind will talk us out of what we want, and our mind will criticize it till the magic is gone. We're going to catch ourselves in those moments this week and have the opportunity to reverse our thinking. In the same sense, Mercury I call the smartass. That's our mind. And our mind is always smarting off. It's always trying to show us how smart it is. And it's always talking back. That's the nature of the mind, I find. But we also have what I call the dumbass, which is Mars, our ego. And Mars is also in Virgo and moves from 11 degrees Virgo to 16 degrees Virgo over the course of this week. And what this means is that our ego is pushing forward this week to change our daily life. So from 11 degrees to 16 degrees Virgo, it's all about addressing outer life daily issues. So this is sort of like all of the taxes, basically, all the things that we have to do, all the tasks that we have to do. We're going to find that our ego is very caught up and busy in getting things done and moving things forward. It's an excellent week to clean out the garage or clean out your closets or rearrange your furniture. It's a great week for that. But you also want to be careful, because the ego is the part of us that judges the most. In fact, the ego and the mind are the two culprits, the smartass and the dumbass, that quite often come together and ruin the party. And what we want to do, of course, is use that energy to raise our vibration, to take better care of us, to be there for us, not to be the party pooper. But I do believe that this sets up the potential for falling into self-criticism and self-judgment, and being hyper aware and overly focused and perhaps a little ADD on what's not working instead of focusing on your creative potential and what your heart truly wants. So you could say that I believe that given the fact that we have this energy and hypercritical Virgo energy, hyper aware as well, it's not always critical, but you just can't stop looking at, the acne on your cheek, you know what I mean? Like that's part of the Virgo energy, or that you've got something in your teeth, you're sort of hyper focused of that. You could say that this serves as a bit of a test to ask what really matters in life. Is your heart and the love what matters, or is the fact that this happens to be out of place right now, or that this may need to be fixed right now, is that more important? Now, by the end of the week, when Mercury hits step 8 and step 9, our mind will make a commitment to how to think of ourselves. So we're going to sort of adopt a certain attitude in our mind about ourselves. And a couple of things going on with this attitude. For one, by the end of the week, Mercury starts to move into shadow. And that's because Mercury is going to retrograde this month. It starts retrograding on August 23rd and retrogrades to September 15th. It goes from 21 degrees Virgo to 8 degrees Virgo, which means that we're going to rethink or think through a second time all of our plans for how to deal with life, all the way back to adopting the right mindset about ourselves. So what I'm saying here is that whatever mindset you adopt about yourself this week, and this is your mental, the way your mind thinks of yourself. And I recommend you think of yourself, you try to adopt, instead of calling yourself diseased, call yourself healed or on the mend. So try to upgrade your mental opinion of yourself. But whatever your mental opinion of yourself is, let's just call it a rough draft, because Mercury will be going back over this space again. And so if anything, that lets you off the hook of trying to get it perfect the first time, because it's not going to be perfect the first time. The other aspect with Mercury that's really important this week is that Mercury is opposing Saturn this week. Saturn is at 5 degrees retrograde Pisces, and Mercury at one point, which will actually be, I think on the full moon. Yes, on the day of the full moon, Mercury will oppose Saturn. Now, this opposition, I think, is going to create a little bit of a mental inner argument this week, where you might find yourself arguing with yourself. Your mind will want to be critical, and your mind will want to fall into the old rut of being hyper aware or ADD or overly analytical, going into analysis paralysis. Those are all the temptations of Mercury and Virgo. But the fact that it's opposing Saturn and Pisces means that you're likely going to have this awareness this week with this opposition. And that awareness is that you recognize that this is a habit. So, a lot of times, I don't know about you, but I can speak for myself. My mind has a mind of its own. It goes running off in different tangents. I find myself as a passenger more than I find myself as a driver. And so I find myself being negative. I didn't set out to be negative. I find myself picking on myself. I didn't set out to be that way. These are mental habits and neural pathways that I have burned through my, cerebral cortex through my whole life, based on the stimulation in my life. Our mind is programmed, basically, and it's the one part of us that is programmable. So most of the time when our mind is often running on these certain tangents, we're not aware of what we're doing. We're sort of riding the intellectual waves, the electric waves of thought, and we're not really observing that thought. I believe this week, with Saturn opposing Mercury, you're going to have this ability to see these patterns. You're going to see, or one way it may come up is you will know better. So if you start, thinking down on yourself, you will know better. You will know that this is not healthy for you. You will not be just off and running in your intellectual thought, because the opposition of Saturn is sort of pulling in this awareness to take responsibility for this reckless thinking or self-debilitating thinking. And so I think that, and what this is opportunity. Now, which side should win, Saturn or Mercury? And the answer is Saturn in Pisces. Saturn is a long-term commitment, part of our consciousness. Mercury is very fleeting. It goes around the sun every 88 days. Thoughts don't last very long. Thoughts are cheap. So what we think really doesn't matter. It's just a sketch of an idea. But Saturn is a commitment. It is a long-term force in our life. And Saturn retrograde in Pisces is saying it is time to commit to forgiving these old habits in yourself, to letting these things go, to choosing compassion over criticism, to choose love inside yourself over fear. So most likely the way this will unfold this week is you'll probably find yourself in an argument with yourself about yourself several times during the week. And what the astrology is saying is it's absolutely time for the mind to be reprogrammed, to let go of that self-analytical over-analysis paralysis thinking, and instead do a long-term commitment to being compassionate and letting these old patterns with yourself go. That's the other aspect I think is going to happen, is I think because of Saturn and Pisces and Mercury opposing, we're going to really start to see that this is a pattern that goes back to your first marriage, or goes back to your childhood, or goes back to, 20 years. You're going to see that pattern with Saturn opposing Mercury. And again, because Mercury enters in shadow on Friday, whatever you come up with is a rough draft. We're going to rethink it again, beginning on August 23rd when Mercury retrogrades through Virgo. The fact that Mercury retrogrades in Virgo this month while Venus is retrograding in Leo really tells me that we are getting down and dirty about getting rid of our dirty, basically. Because if you reprogram the heart with Venus and you reprogram the mind with Mercury, those are the two major forces. I mean, the only thing we could wish for on top of that would be a Mars retrograde, but let's not completely deflate our energy. But having your heart and mind reprogrammed pretty much is the reason why I feel this is the most powerful month probably of your lifetime to reprogram your direction in life and give yourself a second or third or fourth or fifth or whatever chance you're up for. Now, another theme and subplot going on, I keep checking the monitor here to make sure we're still live. Thank you, everyone. Is the energy in Taurus. And I talked about this last week, that we are now entering into a multiverse energy. And this week is entirely multiverse. In fact, when did Jupiter go to 13? I just want to look here in my notes. Oh, it already has. So we're already in the multiverse as of this last Wednesday is when it happened. What the heck does that mean? Well, Jupiter is at 13 degrees Taurus and Uranus is at 22 degrees. And whenever the degrees add to a 4, that is the door to a new dimension, which means that this is another reason why this is one of the most important weeks of your lifetime. Jupiter will progress to 14 degrees on Friday. So this cosmic multi-timeline, multi-dimensional doorway closes on Friday. There'll still be things that'll be up for transformation. In fact, Uranus will still be at 22 degrees. So our future timelines will still be liquid. But what we have the capacity to do this week is to completely change the dimension in which we manifest our life. That's really the dimensional shift that's going to happen. And what does that mean? Well, it means that what you believe you are capable of is not set in stone. And that's what Taurus energy is. It's our capabilities to manifest, our capabilities to manufacture, to make things, our capabilities to law of attract abundance and resources. So what I'm saying is, I don't care if you were born poor in a family that could barely, get enough for food. I don't care if you are extremely wealthy and you have tons of abundance, but you haven't made anything out of that with that wealth yet. It doesn't really matter what your history of manifestation has been up until now. I believe whatever that history was tied to the early degrees of Saturn. It was tied to the old karma you have with yourself. I also believe that your manifest potential was based on a certain level and quality of self-love that you had. Self-love is the secret ingredient to manifestation. Why is that? Because manifestation is step 10, 1, 0. And step 10, 1 is the love, the self-love you bring to the table. Step 1 is self-love. Step 0 is time and space. So manifestation, in my approach to reality and my metaphysical approach in the step system, manifestation is completely built on how much self-love you bring to the 1 and how much time and space you allow with the 0. And time and space is infinite. Self-love is not. Self-love is completely controlled by the individual. So this is why I believe that you can totally change your game this week simply by raising the self-love. By raising the vibration of self-love, you raise your potential for abundance, basically. And the more powerful that love, the more powerful of attraction you will bring to your life. And honestly, unless you happen to be in fifth dimension already, which you wouldn't be watching this show, okay, so you have only up to go when it comes to the self-love. I've never met anyone that could not benefit from more self-love. And, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of self-love, but self-love is basically bringing authentic love to the self in every moment. So when you eat your cereal, you're loving yourself. And when you walk down the street, you're loving yourself. And what this feels like experientially is that you begin to feel your heart chakra light up, and you begin to feel your heart chakra heat up, really. So the more love you have, the more joy you'll find naturally in your heart. And for me, it's literally a tingling. It's like a tingling of excitement, which I've experienced from outer stimulus before, being on a roller coaster or going to Disneyland when I was a kid, or watching a fireworks show or something magical, or a laser light show. That's right. I was a kid in the 70s. They had laser light shows, which were so cool. Those things always lit up my heart, and I was super excited. So the trick here is to live a life where our heart is glowing like that, glowing like ET's heart. And that's how you measure your quotient of your self-love and how much you have going on. So we are in a multi-dimensional multiverse between now and Friday, which means your timeline can change. You may have been headed for failure. You may have been headed for disease. You may have been heading for a divorce. You may have been heading for all sorts of negative catastrophe. But I believe, looking at the planets, you can change that story this week, and the window closes on Friday. The full moon, by the way, is on Tuesday. That's when you sort of make the commitment to love yourself and love yourself forevermore. So liquidity and manifestation potential. This also means for those of you who are in the stock market, who are trading Bitcoin, or digital coin, or investing in, raw materials, it does mean that I think we're going to see major fluctuations with the market. And I think there's a lot of new opportunities and new markets that'll be opening that might even be born in this next week. Like new ways of making money might literally be born that wasn't here before. That's the other thing I want to bring up too, is with Uranus at 22 degrees Taurus, we are inventing ways of manifestation. So never say never right now. And Uranus will stay at 22 for some time moving forward. It goes to 23 this month in August, but it's at 22. 22 is a grandmaster degree. What that means is things are being invented that were not around before, which will offer the opportunity to make things happen. One of them, of course, is AI. AI is transforming so many things, how we create, how we write. It's one of the basis points of the, Actors and Writers Guild strikes going on in Hollywood right now, because they don't want to be deep faked by AI. They want to still make money if their image is used. It's really cool that Indiana Jones looks younger, but would it be cool, for us to do an Indiana Jones 6 when Harrison Ford passes on? That may not be cool. We're figuring these things out. But the point is that if you don't know how you're going to create your golden egg or your golden age, that's fine, because technology and availability is now being created, that we're breaking through certain barriers. AI is one example. One example I always use is, Serious Joy is a text message service. We text message you several times a day. When I had the idea for Serious Joy, there wasn't text messages. I had the idea during the time of pagers. I was thinking, how can I create a one-on-one relationship with the customer? I thought at the time you'd have to log into a website. Once smartphones came along, I realized, oh my God, I can send the message to them. So my point is a lot of times when you have the genesis of the idea, it's before the tech is even invented for it to happen. And that could not be more true than right now with Uranus at 22 and above in Taurus. So stay tuned. There's more to come. Another theme going on this week, I already mentioned Saturn is opposing Mercury, but we have Saturn and Neptune, both retrograde. And what that means in the simplicity is that we are ending karmic trends and karmic patterns with ourselves. So it doesn't matter how many times you've messed up in relationships. It doesn't matter how many times you messed up with work. It really doesn't matter. All that matters is that you realize compassion and forgiveness and tolerance are what matters. So you want to hold that compassionate space. This is where we are leaving an old karmic story we were born to. So basically, if you were getting a reading with me today and you said, I've always had bad luck with men, I'd be like, until now, because Saturn's in Pisces. So those karmic trends now have the opportunity to end. So if you feel cursed, if you feel like you have crazy karma, if you feel like the world's out to get you, or you'll never be happy or whatever, I say that is all based on the karma you were born to. And Saturn in Pisces is allowing us to release, to end these karmic cycles and loops. Neptune is giving us a new vision of what our destiny can be. So with Saturn at the bottom, as you cut the karmic cords, Neptune at the top opens up doors. So as you cut karmic cords, you open up karmic doors, basically. And that's the relationship going on between Saturn and Neptune. And in particular, this week with Mercury opposing Saturn, if you cut the karmic cords of negative thinking or certain poor attitudes you have with yourself, or even lying to yourself, which would be a negative mental trait, you are opening up the cosmic door for destiny. So if you want new opportunity, end the old cycles, is what the planets are saying. End the old cycles and you will be cut free as you cut those karmic cords. And then lastly, the final trend for the week is the nodes in Aries, and of course, Pluto as well. Pluto, thank God, has retrograded to 28 degrees from 29. It moved from 29 last Friday, a week ago, in my last show, so it moved to 28. The good news there is that when it comes to global power and domination, I think we're all seeing stories all over the place of things going wrong with, systems. The healthcare system is not doing right by us. Governments are not doing right by us. Taxes are not doing right by us. You know what I mean? It's everywhere and it's rampant. But now that Pluto has moved to 28, the focus now is what needs to manifest and replace what's not working. So identifying what doesn't work and starting to hypothesize of what could work. All right. And beginning to go, well, okay, fine. Well, if we're not going to have government healthcare, well, then what will we have? What's the solution? What is an alternative? So when it comes to struggles with power, I think we were meant to see the struggle when the sun was opposing Pluto at 29. And now that Pluto is at 28, we know what the struggle is. We know where the corruption is. We know what's living out of bounds. Now it's time to start thinking about how we're going to manifest a solution. All right. And that manifestation of a solution is very important because it comes down to you. Now, with the North Node in Aries at 28 degrees and the South Node in Libra at 28 degrees, this means that it's now time to move Aries at 28, move towards the manifestations that will work. And with the South Node at 28 Libra, to move away from organizations or long-term commitments to what does not work. And I believe this is going to go hand in hand with the self-love principle. For many people out there, loving yourself on a greater level will probably mean that you pull away from toxic long-term relationships. And those toxic long-term relationships could be to people, organizations, or maybe even governments. You might live in a country right now that is not being fair by you, and it's time to step away from investing in that entire culture. Those high degrees of Libra are cultural degrees. So it's our relationship to institutions, our relationship such in a marriage institution, our relationship, let's say, to an organization such as the job we work for. And the North Node in Aries at 28 is saying, and go towards what you do want to manifest as far as change. Another way of looking at the North Node in Aries is change. So that North Node in Aries is squaring Pluto at 28 Capricorn, which means that you're basically sort of like getting out of it's almost like getting out of a wetsuit, or wiggling out of wet clothes. In some regards, you have to take action. In some regards, you have to reorganize your power, reorganize how you associate with the power. And you sort of work with a square, sort of like working on a knot. You know, I always like to use the example of when your Christmas lights are all knotted up. Sometimes you pull this way, sometimes you pull that way. A square is very similar. With this square, in some cases, you need to move forward and move away from certain organizations that don't work. In some cases, you need to actually aim for a different type of control or a different type of power or different type of manifestation around power. So both are there. We also have Chiron still retrograde at 19 degrees Aries. And this is sort of a long-term theme that's going on. And what we're doing is we are repairing and healing times in our past, either in this lifetime or from a past lifetime. And I do believe, you know, even when you're addressing mistakes in this life, I believe you're actually, you made those mistakes most of the time because you had totally ruined your life in a past life. And in this life, it just turned into a mistake. And the reason why we tend to blow those mistakes out of proportion and dwell on them is because it wasn't just this lifetime that we did it. Many lifetimes. And it's like, oops, I did it again, to quote Britney Spears. So right now there's a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? We're bringing a lot more worry to the table than is probably credible for the situation because of the black moon, because of Chiron at 19 degrees Aries, because we are trying to heal where we have made mistakes before. And black moon Lilith at 23 Leo and later 22 Leo and later 23 Leo this week. She moves to 23 Leo on Wednesday. This is still trining Chiron at 19 Aries. So it means that we are definitely facing fears of failure and having remembrance of the times we have failed. And so I would expect, you know, I would expect you to be mindful of the times that you have failed or dropped the ball, because this is the time that we are healing our capability to not drop the ball. And the only way you're going to heal not dropping the ball is worried about dropping the ball and then not, right? So it's natural. It's not a sign or a bad sign that you're worried about it falling apart. It's actually a sign that you're now overcoming those times where you did let things fall apart. And so that Chiron at 19, I think it's going to be up at 19 for a total of 97 days. So, and I think it nets to a 10, which is manifestation. So if you look at the big picture stuff, okay, so let me just, you know, like an Aquarius, back out and get the big picture. Why is this committing to magical self-love and investing in our golden egg? Well, because if you look at what God's doing here, we're raising the one in self-love. So we're raising our self-love with step one. When it comes to the 0 and the 10, for I manifest to step 10, when it comes to the 0 and the 10, Pluto, we're changing corruption of power and corruption of big organizations and readdressing how we're going to manifest our, you know, how we're going to manifest or not manifest through big organizations. So we're strengthening the 0 in the 10, which is I manifest. At the same time, we have Jupiter, which is nuclear multi-timeline, in the house of I manifest Taurus. We have Uranus, which is nuclear, in the house of I manifest Taurus. So opening up, breaking the glass ceilings of how we can manifest. At the same time, we have the North Node at 28 degrees Aries, which is the I manifest degree. So we are trailblazing a new direction to manifest and moving away from the bad relationships that did not manifest, South Node and Libra. And then we're at the same time with Chiron at 19, healing 19 net 10, healing all the times that we did not manifest. So the universe is working as this brilliant energetic symphony to raise the power of the one, to clear the crap out of the 0, and to refocus all of our manifestation intentions across our life, getting rid of the times that we failed while giving us a new direction of how to manifest, while facing the boogeyman of where manifestation went wrong. Now, Venus itself this week goes from 27 to 26. She goes to 26 on Tuesday, basically on the day of the full moon. And what that means is this week you will likely stop pursuing the wrong heartfelt interests. So this is the week to stop chasing after the one that got away. In some cases, this is letting go of the one you keep fantasizing about. This came up in, I think, our soul support group this week, where someone brought up the very good point of, it's not just, sometimes we still harbor feelings for someone when in fact it's never going to happen. There's no evidence it's going to happen. You're like visiting their Facebook profile and thinking about them, and you haven't talked to them in 5 or 10 years. You've given your heart away to this fantasy of what may happen. I think that was really good for buying time, but I think it's now time to pull away from that. If they don't show up at your doorstep by Tuesday, then it's not going to happen, at least not right now. And letting your heart hope for these things that are unattainable. I'm not telling you to give up on your dreams. I'm telling you to go after your dreams. And I'm saying that pull your investment out of whatever heartfelt investments have not paid off, unless you have a special instruction from your guides that you're meant to stand by that person. But I would think that would be you're with them in the hotel room, or you're with them in the hospital. Actually, I was thinking hospital, but it could be hotel room. If you're not with them, then I don't know if it's smart to be investing your heart into that direction anymore, because the world's about to change, and so is a whole bunch of things. It's a moving target anyways. So chances are they're not the same person they were when you fell in love. Incidentally, I know a lot of Leos who are pulling out of their heart investments, because Leos love more than any sign as far as their devotion and never letting go. But I've talked to a couple of Leos now who are finally over it and are pulling out their investments in the dream of somebody. They weren't even actually with that person. They were just dreaming about being with that person. So I want to put that out there. Okay. How are we doing? Okay. Learning how to drink in my show. So that is the nutshell of our planets and transits this week. Oh, we're running on time. Yay. And thank you for the prompt, Sarah. Shout out to Sarah, and shout out to Noel for guiding us tonight. Much appreciated. It is now time for our tea time. Our tea time again. Okay, finally got the tea time in there. I love it. So steep yourself some tea. Let's have our tea time. Before we dive into the horoscopes for everyone this week for all 12 signs, I do want to share with you a couple of charts and to give you an idea of what this looks like astrologically. So let's move and take a look at that. This is our theme for the month, finding your inner Merlin. And honestly, the inner Merlin will begin to unfold next week. So I believe if you do the soul work with yourself this week, you will set the stage for your inner Merlin and set the stage for you to really start to see some magic happen. And because of the energy and all this multidimensional stuff we have going on, I do believe that we're going to see some real magic happen. And this is a moment for setting up for miracles as well. But again, we're going to see that magic wand probably appear next week if you do the work this week. And that brings me to the first chart I want to share, which is the full moon. The full moon happens right on the first day of August. So August opens up August 1st, and boom, we have a full moon. It apexes at 2:31 p.m. Eastern time. And as you can see, this full moon is at 9 degrees Aquarius. I don't know why I said 11 when I looked at a 9. 9 degrees Aquarius. Now, 9, if you don't know, is the degree of action. So something interesting is it could very well be some sort of, actually not very well be. Let me rephrase that. There must be some action to initiate this change. Let me say it again. There must be an action to initiate this change. And this is amplified by the fact that there's a 9-degree orb between Jupiter and Uranus, which tells me that the timeline change or the multiverse change will come from an action. And because it's Aquarius, this action is a detach attach. So we detach from something and we attach to something else. Our heart will become attached to loving ourselves. This detach attach full moon is a self-loving act. And it's you detaching, the individual, because it's 9 degrees, it's you detaching from something and attaching to something else, or detaching and going flying, flying solo. So I highly recommend for this full moon that you do something ceremonial, but something literal to up the ante of your self-love. This would be, so if you say to yourself, I'm going to detach from the one that got away, then an action that would follow that would be stop following them on Facebook, stop following them, unfriend them. If you're really gonna, at least stop following them so they stop in your feed, but cut the cord. So I think this full moon says, hey, it's time to take an action to cut away from and detach. We must jump away from. But you could also take an action that stops something. So let's say you have a very bad habit of staying up until 3 a.m. surfing the web, and you're going against the nature of the sun and you're tired all the time. So let's detach from that behavior. Let's go to bed early. So stopping an action or behavior is as powerful as starting an action or behavior. For the record, you can stop something. But this full moon says we definitely want to stop what's not working and go towards what is working. And you want to have some sort of literal action. It can't just be conscious meditation. In this case, meditation is not an action. Now, what'll happen is that action, okay, the moon will then square. What's going to happen is the moon's going to continue moving up past the full moon apex and will end up squaring Jupiter, and then later the next day squaring Uranus. And as the moon squares these two, to me, that is the timeline change. If you fail to act, I theorize, let me know next week in the chat, but I theorize nothing will happen because I believe it takes an action to initiate. God universe puts in this clause that you have to actually do something to change your life. You can't just contemplate it. And that's part of being alive on earth. You have to do something. You can't just imagine it. We have imagination reality in heaven. On earth, it becomes real. So you have to take an action. Now, here's an interesting thing. Mars at that moment is at 13 Virgo, another net 4. And Mars is how we take action in our daily life. So this full moon is suggesting that there must be a change of action with yourself, how you act or react, or how you initiate, or how you respond in yourself. And there must be an innovation of our behavior in the outer world. This would be the duties of the outer world, the routines of the outer world, the jobs that we do in the outer world. Basically, Virgo is the mundane of reality. It is the day in and the day out and the trip so it's not enough just to take action for yourself. You want to follow through and up the game in your daily life. Now, you could say to yourself, okay, I'm going to stop something that's hurting me, and I'm going to actually take my time driving to work and take the scenic route so that I have time, or I'm going to take a break, or I'm going to change the way I work in daily life based on what my heart, step 1, believes, step 3. So this is on Tuesday, and this is the deadline I said for that ex-lover needs to show up by Tuesday. This is the day where you go above and beyond. And Mercury is at this moment. Well, actually, we'll go to the next thing here. So this is the moment at 2:31. So at 2:31, look at the chain reaction of this full moon. It's pretty impressive. At 2:31, we have the self-loving action that we take for ourselves. Then at 4:44, which you just cannot write this ship. This is East Coast time, 3 4s. We literally have 3 4s. Here's 1 4, here's the next 4, and here's the third 4. So we have 3 4s on the chess table here. So at 4:44, this is when Mars trines Jupiter exactly at 13 degrees 46 minutes. So there's a Mars trine. So I'm expecting that after that full moon of taking action for yourself, you're then cued to take action in your daily life, to elevate your action in your daily life, which will then elevate your capacity to manifest. So you can see by loving yourself, you can see how the window of opportunity opens. By acting on your behalf on the full moon, you're then empowered to act on your behalf of what your heart believes in daily life, thereby upping the ante. And I believe opening the door to change the timeline. So I think this is going to be a dimensional shift that happens. Then that's at 4:44. Okay. Then later on at 10:17 p.m., later on that night, we have a third aspect of the day, which is that this is the point when Mercury officially completely opposes Saturn. So this is the end of a certain attitude about yourself, Mercury at 5, and the moving forward with your long-term commitment to end your karma with yourself. So this is a triple whammy, and they always say it happens in threes when magic happens, a triple whammy of the full moon, which I believe is the official starting point. I believe this full moon is the starting point of the story you were born to live, because the premise of that story is that you have a higher degree of self-love, which you have now put into action. One interesting thing to point out as well, with all this going on, like I said, we had, well, I'll just go right to it. Venus is at 26 Leo, and 26 is what we commit to. All right. Now, Venus just the day before on the 31st was at 27, which was that we were changing what we're going to act on. So there's also a change of our commitment, step 26, of what our heart is committed to manifesting. This also, when you have a step change happen right on the cusp of a lunar event, where the planets change degrees, that tells me the story is changing. So the story is going to change as a result. Another fascination. Now, oh, actually, before I go there, notice this Venus at 26 is the tip of a yod from Pluto at 28 and Neptune at 27, pouring down into Venus at 26. And what this says basically is that you want to change world power. We're tired of corruption. We're tired of things going poorly. We're tired of the earth going downhill. You want to get on the course of your destiny. And so what this yod says is, if you want to change world power and get on the path of your destiny, then go, my child, and create like you have never created before. So the planets are saying the solution to this world power is what you create, that you are the solution you were waiting for, that you are the solution to world power corruption. You are the solution to finding your destiny. And it's from creating something from your heart, which must come from a rich resource of self-love to pull off. The last fascinating point, well, there's a couple here, is that Black Moon Lilith also advances a degree in this 24-hour period. The day prior, she was at 22 degrees on Monday. So both Venus and Black Moon Lilith, both Black Moon moved up a degree and Venus moved back a degree in the same 24-hour period that the full moon apexes, which tells me the plot is changing when you have this much degree change. What's fascinating is Black Moon Lilith is now shifting and focusing on step 23, Leo, which is our vision for the future, our creative vision for the future. And not only is it our creative vision for the future on the full moon, but it's also the same degree as the new moon that will happen 2 weeks later. So as you are activating your self-love and changing your timelines, you are facing your fear about the big grand vision of what is going to happen. And I believe Venus here at 26 is probably the decommission. So you may not be committing to the actual love story you want or committing to the golden egg project that you want. You may be committing to letting go of what doesn't work, represented by the South Node here at 28 Libra, letting go. You can't see it here. I should picture it in the next week's show, the South Node, because it's valuable. This could be a commitment to end commitments, that you're going to end certain associations and step away, and you're going to face your fears about what that might look like and what the future might look like. So this 24-hour period for me is magnificent. And it's the point when we actually pick up our magic wand. Merlin picks up the wand, and it comes from taking the right actions with yourself, which causes a chain reaction with Mars trying Jupiter and Mercury opposing Pluto later in the day, and the step changes that happen. All right. So that brings us now to our zodiac weather for the week for all 12 signs. I today am going to go through all 12 signs as we wrap up our show with this segment. And thank you all to the people who week after week do the time code for each of these. It really helps us out to have the time code. So thank you. We'll pin the first person to the top who has time code for us. We appreciate that. This week for each of the 12 signs, what I'm going to be talking to are 4 different categories. One, and really it all speaks to the full moon event. So this full moon Aquarius is the event that I'm speaking to. First, I'm going to tell you where your inner child is committing to higher self-love. Okay, so where you're committing to loving yourself on a higher level, and the same part where you are detaching, attaching. So the full moon will be where you are, what you are detaching from in order to attach, or you may not attach right away to what's next. You may just be a free agent and independent where you can attach later, but it's at least a detachment of what's not working in that sector of your life. Then I'm going to tell you where Mercury in Virgo is calling for you to have a new attitude about yourself. So the mind must adopt a new attitude in this category or area of space that I'm speaking to. And then I'm going to speak to how that is opposing Saturn on the day of the full moon, and where you must commit to forgiving or letting things go, and how that part might be entangled with the mind. So basically, it's the heart and what you're detaching from. It's the mind's new attitude and what karma you are leaving behind for all 12 signs, starting with the Aries. Take a sip here, Aries. My voice is getting better, if y'all haven't noticed. Thanks to everyone who gave me all the little clues of tea and different herbal remedies. Aries. Aries, you are committing to your inner child. Now, that may sound obvious, Aries, but it's not, because Aries tend to grow up a little too fast. They tend to want to be adults. Aries like to speed through everything, okay? And speed through their dinner, speed through their marriage, speed through the red light. Aries says speed through things. And one things you have left behind a long time ago was your inner child, trying to be an adult, trying to be a hero, trying to be a lifesaver, trying to be all sorts of things. And so Aries, I think, have forgotten the sheep. You've forgotten the sheep. You've become that ram, and you've forgotten the innocent sheep in you. So it's time to commit your self-love to your inner child, which means not committing to the hero part of you and not committing to the adult part of you, but to the inner child part of you, that you're going to fulfill this need. Now, let me tell you, Aries, if you commit to always fulfilling your heart's desires, you will not end up going too far, or having or losing the strength to go far enough. Your issues of going too far, pushing things too far, or your issue with giving up when you couldn't go any longer, that's all because you've lost touch with your heart, that those things happen. That's the only reason. If your heart was in it, you would be able to win it. And if your heart was in it, you wouldn't go too far. You wouldn't say anything mean. You wouldn't be aggressive, because your heart, your inner child, the sheep in you, wouldn't allow it to happen. So this full moon is committing to your heart and detaching from things in society that are not in alignment with your heart, and detaching from parts of yourself that interfere with your relationship to your heart. So detach from your ego if it gets in the way of your heart. Detach from your mindset if it gets away in the way of your heart. Detach from the parts of yourself that interfere with the heart. They're not going to die. I didn't say kill them. I said detach from them. Stop beating them. And you may be in a place to attach to something in the world that you want to be. So you want to do some sort of action that formally leaves an organization or leaves a group, or stops being hard on yourself, or stops a behavior. And you want to have some sort of official action that does that. Now, Mercury in Virgo is, your mind has a certain attitude about your health. Your mind has a certain attitude about your body. So you're going to get a new attitude about health and a new attitude about your body and your relationship to your body. And this is going to have to balance with having faith and taking responsibility for having faith in yourself. So your mind must choose a fearless approach. Your mind must choose a faithful approach to your health and to your well-being. Even if you are suffering from some sort of a disease or injury, you still must adopt a faithful approach in your thoughts about your body and your relationship to your body. You must have a new attitude about living healthy. And living healthy is living in the inner child and living in your heart. Taurus. Tauruses are now committing to new self-love when it comes to your emotional nurturing. So this is how you respond to your feelings. When you're feeling low, love yourself. When you're feeling poor, love yourself. When you're feeling tired, love yourself. This is about developing a new self-loving emotional nurturing I know Tauruses quite often like to be taken care of by others, but that creates strings that could thwart your fertility and your potency. So you want to be self-sustaining self-love, a happy cow that is, super happy in the pasture and not needing others to be nurtured and well cared for. What you must detach from is certain things you have been disciplined about that are in the way of your emotional care. A good example of this is work, that you've been too attached to work or too attached to success or too attached to your commitment to, let's say, your job or your commitment even to your children. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have those commitments, but they can't get in the way of self-love, self-nurturing. You must first put your oxygen mask on first and then go out into the world, because the truth is, Taurus, your career is based on how well you nurture yourself. That's true for everybody, but it's based on how well you love yourself. So you are the master of step 10. So the more self-love you give, which is the more nurturing of your emotion, the more potent your manifestation is. The more you rely on others to nurture you, the less potent your manifestation is, because you're borrowing energy from someone else instead of pulling that energy down from God and the heart chakra consciousness. So you want to take some sort of action to nurture yourself and do something for yourself that's nurturing on this full moon, and probably something that's life-changing when it comes to your commitments, that you pull away from commitments that don't serve you anymore. And by the way, pulling away could just be putting it on hold. You don't have to break up. You can just say, you know what, I need to reorganize my resources right now and put my eggs in this basket. I'll get back to you when I'm recharged again. Chances are they're changing their priorities too in the same full moon. Now, Mercury in Virgo means you must adopt a new attitude to your inner child, that and this is part of your self-love. So thinking for your inner child a new way. This also means thinking differently about your childhood. Maybe your childhood was damaging. Maybe it was hard. Maybe it was painful. Maybe that pain reverberates, but it's time to let it go. And it's time to let go of the parts that you don't belong being attached to. So you're being called with Saturn in Pisces to come out of your karmic patterns with society. If you've always been teased, if you've always been, called something, if you've always been criticized, let it go. You don't belong associating with that public criticism anymore. It's going to keep you from manifesting your golden egg. It's going to keep you from manifesting your castle. So you have to let any failures in society, any mistakes in society, even sometimes for Tauruses, it's that you expect yourself to be farther along in society than you are. You got to let all that go. And you've got to be mindful of your heart and your joy in the moment. Your inner child must be engaged, or that 1 in the 10 is not powerful. Gemini. Gemini are committing to self-love with this full moon when it comes to self-talk. So literally, Gemini self-love is equal to the way they think about themselves and the way they talk to themselves. You are forbidden from talking down to yourself and being self-deprecating. I know a lot of Geminis who self-deprecate as a means of false humility, where you'd be like, oh, I'm so stupid, or I'm this, or oh my gosh, I'm such a mess. You don't realize you are actually killing your conscious energy to manifest when you say that. You can say something like, pardon my mistake. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to go there. Because your mind is so powerful. When you allow those thoughts to reverberate, you are messing up everything, because you create from your attitude and from your mind. You are the intellectual masters of the planet. So you cannot do negative self-talk. You must do positive self-talk, constructive self-talk, sort of like the little engine that could. I think I can. I think I can. That was written for you. I think I can. That story was written for Geminis. Now, the full moon says you must detach from failures to believe in yourself. So when you fail to believe in yourself, when you doubt yourself, you must detach from the self-doubt. You must detach from the old story, your childhood story, or you're always this, or you're growing up, you were that. You can't harbor any of that any longer. It's going to ruin what you want to create. You have to give yourself the benefit of the doubt, and you can say, I believe until I find proof. So you can attach to the fact that you will believe until you see otherwise, and detach from something. Now, you need to do something formal. You need to take an action on this full moon. So the action might be posting on Facebook or posting on social media. just how amazing you are and how you believe in yourself and making that a public statement. That would be a great action to take on this full moon that proves to the universe that you're following through. Mercury in Virgo says you have to have a different mindset about the way you look at your feelings. For a lot of Geminis, feelings are a curse. They feel like they are stuck until it doesn't happen anymore. I know a lot of Geminis are like, I'm just going to feel bad until I stop feeling bad. There's like no plan to feel better. There's no action to feel better. You're just waiting for it to magically go away as like a mind changes. And that's not going to happen. You have to have a mindset that is committed to nurturing yourself and committed to responding to your emotional needs and being conscious of your feelings, not just your thoughts. So focusing your mind on feeling good about yourself. This opposes Saturn, which says you must now make new commitments and decisions that makes your future more forgiving. That's more compassionate about your future. That's more compassionate about your career, more compassionate about your leadership potential. Okay. So so letting go of the commitments that keep you from really paying attention to your feelings and your emotional needs. Cancers, you are now, it's now time to commit to your self-worth and your self-esteem, which means that how much time and energy you actually devote to yourself is how you manifest for yourself. So you must now love and cherish who you are and raise your self-worth on your own to, point your chin up and invest in your self-worth. So you need to make some sort of investment in your self-worth. At the same time, you must detach from trust issues you have with yourself. If you fear about trusting yourself in a relationship or trusting yourself, with equipment or trusting yourself, anywhere you doubt your trust or doubt your boundaries with yourself, you need to detach from that now and attach yourself to what you do trust about yourself and detach from the second guessing of what you can trust or what you can't trust. Detach from your poor boundary issues. Let those poor boundary issues go and attach to the strong boundaries that you have inside of you. Your boundaries very much add up to your self-worth. So if you have an open door policy where you give it away now, you are always depreciating your self-worth. You have to be very conscious about what you give away and keep a lot for yourself so that your self-worth grows and inflates. Where you have to change your thinking is the way you think about yourself. So your self-talk needs to change. Like Geminis, your self-talk make or breaks your attitude and what you allow to go spinning in your head. And the thing about Cancers is they're very absolute about their thoughts as if they're fact all the time. And thoughts are not fact. Thoughts are just theories. They're just ideas. They're only a fact if they're backed up by the heart and your emotions. So I think part of your self-talk is if there's no proof, shut up. If there's no evidence, let it go. You have to have proof to think that way. And even if you do have proof, you can still think differently about it. Now that must be balanced with your belief in yourself. You must now have compassion and let go of any shame or guilt of times where you were ignorant or you failed to believe in yourself, or you let yourself down and you maybe got taken advantage of relationships because you didn't believe in yourself. So you've got to talk yourself up and you've got to let go of the times where you weren't believing in yourself and forgive the times where you were ignorant and didn't know better. Let that go. Leos, happy birthday, Leos. Leos and Leo risings are now committing to more loving self-treatment. So this applies everywhere. The way you take care of yourself, the way you eat, the way you respond in your mind, the way you treat yourself, you must love yourself on a higher level. And this is love, not indulgence, Leo. This isn't indulging. This is loving. Okay. So sometimes, letting yourself pig out like King, Louis the 15th or whatever, that's not self-loving, letting yourself pig out. Loving yourself is giving yourself the appropriate self-treatment that makes you feel well-loved and well cared for. And what you have to detach from are old habits and old approaches to your marriage with yourself. So you used to approach yourself like a failure, or you used to approach yourself like on the rebound, or you used to approach yourself. There's a certain way you used to look at yourself in the mirror and used to approach yourself. And even though you're shiny, happy people on the outside, I know Leos can get very gloomy on the inside. And that's how you approach yourself. Yeah, sure, you're all bright and happy and laughter in the world, but then you go home and you sort of turn into an Eeyore and become sort of like, so your approach to yourself is not matching the shine you're putting out there. So detach from marriage policies with yourself that don't serve you, and attach to the valuable relationship to yourself that raises you up. Your Mercury in Virgo says that you have to think differently about why you're worthy, okay? And come up with a new attitude about your self-worth. Also a new attitude about any debts you may have. All right. So if you are drowning in debt, let's not call it drowning in debt. Let's call it working on your debt. Okay. So your mental attitude about self-worth, your mental attitude about debts to other people or debts material, that needs to change now. You have a new attitude, and this must be balanced with forgiving yourself for mistakes and forgiving yourself for crossing boundaries. So yes, you might have drinking too much last year. Yes, you might have opened yourself up too much to the wrong people. Yes, you might have jumped into bed with someone randomly and then regretted it. Who cares? Saturn in Pisces says, let it go. It was part of the old you. You're probably doing it to be loved and be adored when you weren't loving and adoring yourself. It was probably a symptom of your lack of self-love, and it must be now forgiven. And once you forgive those mistakes, those boundary mistakes that you've made, and where you have screwed up with boundaries, then your self-worth really goes through the roof, because a lot of what's damaging your self-worth is that you're punishing yourself from boundary mistakes. Virgos now. Okay. So, and you know what? I want to do a shout out to Amparo, one of my favorite Virgos out there, Grandmaster Virgo. She said to me, hey, in the mega monthlies, you said Virgos are going to have a new love. And then on the Namaste Today, you talked about the most challenging time ever. Amparo and every Virgo out there, it's both. Okay. You must first overcome your fears to be on this new fantastic love story. So this new self-love is giving yourself the benefit of the doubt. You must take action to love yourself. You must do something that builds faith in yourself. And that might be, getting extra training in something builds faith in yourself, or speaking to the person who hurt you and sticking up for yourself, and speaking up for yourself might be building your faith. You must take some sort of action to build greater faith in yourself. This is what ignites your Merlin magic wand. So some sort of action, and that would also be facing a fear. Facing a fear is building faith in yourself, because fear corrodes faith. So by facing a fear, like I'm afraid of the dark, or I'm afraid of going on stage, or I'm afraid of public speaking, do it on the full moon. Everyone's going to be sidetracked anyways, and face that fear head on. Now, the full moon in Aquarius says that you're going to have to detach from some sort of something you've been attached to with your body. And this might be you attached to being critical of your body, or you attached to your weight. You're like you're weighing yourself 3 times a day, or maybe you're attached to, plastic surgery. Maybe you're attached to that you're getting wrinkles. Maybe you've been hyper obsessed. I mean, for you, we can call attachment obsession. Okay. So to stop obsessing about something in your body or something in your health, and it may be true, whatever your health condition is, but obsessing on it is not having faith in yourself. Obsessing on it is basically surrendering to fear. So you have to detach from body health issues that you have been obsessing on. Mercury in your sign, and Mars in your sign, by the way, making you very testy and impatient with Mars in your sign, but also giving you the strength you need to get things done. But basically, it's time to think differently about how you respond in your mind to yourself and how you treat yourself. You need a new attitude about how to treat yourself. It's time to treat yourself like you were already successful. It's time to treat yourself like you've already pulled off what your goal is. So that will get you to your goal faster by treating yourself in that higher regard. This has to be balanced against Saturn in Pisces, which means it's time to forgive yourself for all the mistakes you've made with yourself. And that includes with yourself in relationships. It's okay you married the narcissist. It's okay you got caught up with the alcoholic. It's okay that you let the love of your life go because you thought there was something better. You must forgive the times you have messed up with yourself in order to come into this new version of yourself. And of course, to have faith in yourself. You're not going to have faith in yourself if you're still crucifying yourself over mistakes you made in the past. And your mind must treat you like the savior, not like the victim or like the wounded. Yes, maybe you have been victimized. Yes, maybe you have been wounded. But if we stay focused on that, we're not going to grow anywhere, and you're not going to grow any faith because your mind is constantly putting you down and going into that old mirage, that old bad mirage with yourself. Libras are, it's time to love yourself. Okay. It's time to take action with the parts of yourself you belong being associated with, and not the parts of yourself that you don't belong being associated with. What does that mean? Instead of associating yourself with your mistakes, associate yourself with your talent. Stand by the parts of yourself that are working and move away from the parts of yourself that work against you. So, this is about aligning yourself with your talent and disaligning yourself from the parts of yourself that bring you down or pull you back. Okay. So for Libras, it's really about honoring and standing up for who you belong being in the world and pulling away, disengaging from where you don't belong being in the world. Now, the full moon in Aquarius, Libra, has to do with your inner child. So it's time to detach from your heartache and your heartbreaks. It's time to detach from your bad childhood. It's time to detach from the spoiled part of you, maybe, or like the spoiled prince or princess part of you. If you've been spoiled, it's time to detach from that part, or detach from the part of you that wants to act out because you've been hurt. So detaching from the hurt inner child. I'm not saying you fail to nurture that inner child. I'm saying we stop focusing on and identifying with the wounded child, and we start identifying with the child that's being adopted by you. So you shift that. So you attach to your adoptee child. You detach from the abandoned inner child that once was, basically, and start to put energy into that new version. You must think differently with Mercury about your faith in yourself. You must think differently about, you must focus on your faith and step away from your fears. So it's time to think of everything you have faith in, and it's time to no longer put mental attention on what you're afraid of. So a shift of that thinking. This opposes Saturn in Pisces, which has to do with your health and your relationship to your body. So it's time to be very compassionate with your body. It's time to be very forgiving with your body. It's time to be non-judgmental with your body and your health. And this is also how you live in the moment, to not live in the moment with self-judgment, to not live in the moment with a bad attitude about life, and instead to be mindful of what you have faith in and put your electrical energy of the mind into what you have faith in. Scorpios, you are having a change of heart with this full moon with self-discipline. So it's really time now to act on the self-loving self-discipline and to step away from the self-sacrificing self-discipline. You're very disciplined about being there for others and being there all the time for people. But you must now really put your self-discipline and architect your self-discipline around loving yourself and being committed to yourself. The full moon in Aquarius means that you're going to begin to detach from your childhood and your emotional issues that are repetitive and don't serve you. Now, this is not to say that you shouldn't honor what you've been on and what you've been through, but we're at a point now where if you wallow in that pain and in that abandonment of a childhood, because most Scorpios were abandoned in childhood because they have Aquarius in the fourth house. Most were. It's part of what made you tough and made you so capable of facing the unknown, is because you were pretty much left to yourself. But if you dwell on that and you keep holding your parents accountable and you don't let go of that ball and chain of that misery, you're going to keep your career and your legacy from really shining. You're at a point now where you can no longer hold on to it. Don't worry, Pluto's going to come down this pipe and completely transform that poison into medicine, but it only happens if you first detach from it. So detach from issues with your mother, detach from issues with your childhood and start a self-discipline of loving yourself in every decision you make. There must be love for yourself in every decision you make, okay? Every career decision must be incorporating love for yourself. Now, Mercury is saying it's time to think differently about where you belong in society. You belong somewhere else in society than where you have been. You don't belong necessarily where you thought you belonged. You don't necessarily belong identifying with parts of yourself that you've always identified. I think this speaks to the wound. It's no longer time to identify with where you've been victimized or where you've been wounded. That was the past. It's not the present. And this is being balanced with Saturn in Pisces in your 5th house, which means that you are now forgiving childhood wounds. You are now forgiving childhood abandonment, where your inner child's been abandoned. You're now forgiving yourself for abandoning your inner child in order to save someone else or be there for someone else. Scorpio is the first person to jump out in traffic to save someone else, not thinking twice about their well-being. Yes, it's heroic and admirable, but it's not new age. It's not where we're going. That was the dark ages when things were bleak. We want to lighten things up. So you have to be mindful of standing by the parts of yourself that are moving forward, that are productive, that are valuable, that are self-loving, and no longer spending a lot of time thinking about the parts of yourself that have been wounded and drug over the hot coals, because it's time to forgive now and move forward. Sagittariuses are now stepping into a new belief in themselves, or you could say ending doubt with themselves. So this is time to take action. So you must put into action on this full moon that you believe in yourself. You believe in yourself? Fine. Put down the credit card, spend the money. You believe in yourself? Fine. Tell your employer that you want that raise. You can't just say, yeah, I believe, I'll be fine. You got to actually step up, say something, do something, make an action, move a piece on the chessboard. It's not enough to just believe. You got to do. So put your money where your mouth is and show yourself, prove to yourself that you believe in yourself by doing something about it. Okay. Now, the full moon in Aquarius says you got to detach from a certain way of thinking that probably created doubt. Okay. You've been attached to, and I know Sages, a lot of Sages, y'all are very self-deprecating in a funny way. It's part of your humor. But if that shift is real inside of you, it can't happen anymore. You're never going to make it in the age of Aquarius if you are putting yourself down, or if your mind is obsessing on mistakes or obsessing on times you let yourself down. If your self-talk is obsessing on anything that's unproductive and unsupportive, you're not doing yourself any favors. And I think in some ways, Sagittarius like to keep it cool with Aquarius in your 3rd house. And so you tend not to want to look like you love yourself too much. You don't have to tell anybody. It's just your secret. Okay. When you're at home in the mirror, if you want to stay humble, but behind closed doors, own it. Okay. Now, the Mercury in Virgo says it's time to think differently about what you commit to for yourself. Your self-discipline needs to be, has a different mindset, a different framework of thinking. So it's time to think differently about yourself when it comes to what you're going to commit to. This is in parenting. This is with career. This is with anything you're self-disciplined about. So your mind really needs to self-discipline. And, here's another thing that just came to mind. You can't self-discipline by being critical. That's basically the same thing that I just talked about with the self-talk. A lot of Sagittarius have Mercury, they have Virgo in the 10th house natally. And so it's like, oh, I'm a piece of crap. I'm doing horrible. I'm dropping the ball. You used all that self-criticism as a method of self-motivation. And that is an old school age of darkness self-motivator. The real way to self-motivate is to really think about where you are special, where you are innovative, where you are unique, and to discipline yourself based on promoting your strengths versus promoting your weaknesses or failures. This directly opposes Saturn in Pisces, which basically says it's now time to forgive and let go of your emotional pain, particularly from childhood and particularly from your mother or the nurturing parent. In some rare cases, the nurturing parent is the father, but in most cases, the nurturing parent is the mother. And if your mother did not nurture you and your father did not nurture you, then your mother was probably the nurturing parent and failed you. Okay. But it's now time to let go and start to heal certain feelings that you have in life that are holding you back. So forgiving those feelings and allowing compassion to start to flow. Capricorns, you are now loving yourself when it comes to trusting yourself. So it's now time to put your money where your mouth is and do something based on your trust in yourself. I don't say risk your life, but if you trust that you can handle this new task, then do it. If you trust that you can share your heart with someone, then do it. Prove to yourself through some sort of action that you trust yourself. But again, I am not recommending you risk your life. Okay. So please do not risk your life. This is the house of death, sex, and taxes. So I'm not saying being a jackass, but I am saying act on what you trust in yourself and put it into motion. You're going to detach from issues that corrode your self-esteem or self-worth. You're going to detach from old self-worth issues or old ways of valuing yourself. I know Capricorns that only value themselves if they got high numbers on the spreadsheet and they're doing really well in business. You have to value yourself for non-tangible reasons. You have to value yourself automatically without having proof in the world. So you're detaching from old self-worth issues that are tied to probably because you didn't trust yourself. That's why you went down those other paths. Now, Mercury in Virgo says it's now time to think differently about why you believe in yourself and to be mindful of why you believe in yourself and not to be critical about believing in yourself. So to really be mindful of what you believe is true about yourself and be very honest about what you're not quite there yet. But take a mental approach that is positive and forgiving in your belief in yourself versus criticizing and self-deprecating. Okay. I know you're very funny by nature. You're like Sagittarius. You have self-deprecating humor to be funny. But this is a time where the planets are saying you can't do that anymore. Saturn in Pisces says that the way you think of yourself must be compassionate, must be forgiving, must be easygoing. So you're going to hold yourself back and your potential back if you are judging yourself in your mind. Okay. And you are the king of judge and the queen of judge because you're ruled by Saturn. So it's tough, but you got to let that stuff go and let that thinking go. Aquarius is because they are this is their full moon. This is a very magical moment for you. You now are learning to love yourself and your mirage in a new way. So it's time to love yourself and prove to yourself you love yourself by doing something. Okay. You must bring yourself flowers or take yourself out. A card is not enough. Okay. Like you must love yourself and put it into action. Okay. You have to detach from a certain way of treating yourself. And ironically, I think what you're detaching from is detaching, paradoxically. So I think Aquarius is used to detaching themselves and ghost themselves and sort of put themselves off into a corner when they really needed love and really need care. And so I think you have to stop detaching from yourself when you need love from yourself. I think that's really what it is. You cannot go cold on yourself any longer or go cold, with, other means like by escaping into video games or escaping into alcohol. You cannot go cold and ghost yourself anymore. You must stand up and love yourself and prove it to yourself that you're worthy. Mercury in Virgo says you have to think differently about trusting yourself. You're hypercritical about boundaries. You're hypercritical about where the line is with yourself. Give yourself a little room. Give yourself an attitude that you'll figure it out. It's okay if you don't get it the first time. It's okay if you don't get it the second time. It's okay if you don't get it the third time. Have a different attitude about trusting yourself. Let yourself earn that trust in yourself instead of expecting it to be absolute from the beginning. Now, with Mercury opposing Saturn, it also means that you must be forgiving of the qualities that lower your self-esteem, which is mistakes that you've made. Maybe there are aspects of your body that lower your self-esteem. Maybe there's aspects that you're heading for retirement. You don't have enough in the bank. It could be financial. You can't feel guilty or bad about self-worth issues because it's going to keep you from being able to trust yourself. The two work together. So you must forgive and forget financial mistakes, self-worth mistakes, forgive debt inside of yourself. It's okay that you're in debt. It's okay you borrowed on the credit cards, and you must think differently about trusting yourself and develop a new attitude for self-trust. And then finally, the Pisces, our golden fishes, goldfish. You must now, yours is probably the easiest to do. Maybe not for you, but it's the easiest in all 12 because all you really need to do is love your health and your body better. So that means you know where you're not. I know Pisces. Pisces are the opposite of the body. The body is Virgo, and Pisces are spirit. So Pisces tend to value their spirit more than they value their body. And so you must now love your vessel as the vessel of your incarnation of Holy Spirit. That Holy Spirit is housed in your body. So you must love your body. You must love yourself in the moment. So you can't dwell on the past or dwell on your karma or let yourself to float around into any sort of mopey, Eeyore sort of approach. You must live in your heart and live in your body with love. So for you, Pisces, the more you invest in your body, which is your sleep, your nutrition, exercise, you know this, that's how you love yourself. And you'll find that when you do love yourself and your body, everything radiates. Now, the full moon in Aquarius says you must detach from fears. You can no longer let yourself be engulfed with fear. And fear is a tricky word. You may not be afraid of the dark and other things, but you may be avoiding asking for a raise, and you don't realize it's because you're afraid of talking to the boss. So fear is very elusive. It comes across, and it doesn't always come across as like rattlesnakes and boogeyman. Sometimes it is a fear of taking action, a fear of changing your life, a fear of ending something. So you must detach from those fears. They cannot rule you anymore. And you must live in love and hope and harmony in the moment. Now, Mercury in Virgo means that you have to think differently about your marriage to yourself. Maybe you think of yourself as a hot mess. Maybe you think of yourself as, healing, you're on your path to healing. But the way you think of yourself is a little too critical, says Mercury in Virgo. You're paying attention to all the faults and not the good stuff, most likely. And this opposes Saturn in Pisces, which is the way you treat yourself. So you must now treat yourself as holy, treat yourself as special, treat yourself as God's gift, okay? And forgive yourself for all the mistakes you've made in yourself. You won't be able to be constructive in your marriage to yourself if you are constantly condemning and crucifying yourself for the mistakes you made. Every Pisces came to the earth to make many mistakes. We all did, but Pisces are reliving their karma. The only way you can see your karmic pattern is by stepping in that same pile of goo again and then, wiping it off your shoe. So you had to mess up. You had to make mistakes because you would never have corrected the karma if you didn't. It was absolutely necessary. But the good news is those times are over. Neptune in the high degrees of your ego says a new character is being born as soon as you forgive and release the old, chip on your shoulder from the old character, and your mindset about yourself must be constructive, must be healing based, must be supportive. It cannot be self-critical or self-deprecating. All right. That's for the Pisces. All right. That is our tea time. Let me have a little drink here. And let me bring in some of our comments too, because it'd be fun to see people, I think. Yes, that's Starbucks giving me a jolt. Here we go. There's some chat here. Few announcements. and I'll let you all go. Look good to see all the stuff here. Oh, nice chat. I will answer a couple questions here in just a moment. First of all, a reminder, our 40 Days of Self-Love Journey is on. It's not too late to join. I think if you join before the full moon, I think you will be fine. So if you can hop on before the full moon, things will be just terrific. And you won't have wasted any time. So I would definitely recommend joining if you can. It's just $3.99 for the first 30 days. And this 40 Days of Self-Love will go on till September 5th, basically, so sometime ahead. So please join us. We'd love to have you. Our mega monthlies are now live for the group. I had a clip ready here, so pardon me to Mara. I want to run clip here, but I just couldn't get it up in time. Right now, we did a mega monthly with our Lights of the Round Table, which is our entire cast, basically. Actually, Devin Dewar was not there this time. We love you, Devin. We missed you. But it is myself, Robbie Hunt, Kristen Ryder, Heather Exposito, all talking about the full month of August. This is our mega monthlies live. You can find it off the right now. You can find it in the Soul Support Group tab. It'll be out. And on August 1st, which is the full moon, I will have the 12 mega monthly reports for each of the 12 signs. So Basically, what you just heard me say for each of 12 signs, I do it for the whole month. And I do this every month. I do a horoscope for every of the 12 signs. And you can listen to all 12 signs. It's called the Mega Monthlies. They go live this Tuesday, August 1st. This week, for our soul support group, we have Angel Intervention going live with Devin Dewar and Heather Exposito. This is a show where Devin Dewar, who is an angel intuitive and a magnificent channel, and Heather, who is a great interviewer, they come together. We have 3 subscribers on camera, and they get an angel reading right before our eyes. It's called Angel Intervention because we cast people who have pretty intense stories where they feel stuck, or they can't go on and keep doing well in what they're doing. So if you hit a wall, we bring on Devin Dewar and Heather to break through that shift. So that is live this Wednesday for our subscribers at 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Sharing is caring. The greatest thing you can do for me is to just share Namaste Today live with your friends and family. You know who's ready. You know who will listen. Please have them take a look, and they will feel right away if it resonates with them. It is now time for us to get our story out there. I do believe this is the time where Serious Joy will be of the greatest benefit to humankind. So please share our show with others on your timelines, or share our zodiac weathers that come out 7 days a week on social media. If you want to donate to me, you can do so at paypal.me/Sensei Christopher. I also want to thank everyone for the super chat donations that happened during the show. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I will invest in myself. If you want to be a part of our Facebook group, it's seriousjoy.club. Just navigate to seriousjoy.club and join our club. We have discussions there. We allow all light workers to advertise their services there. So it's a marketplace for spirituality. And you just have to answer the questions honestly when you come in, because we're always trying to weed out the bots. If you want to follow me on any social media, you can go to my link tree at seriousjoy.social. Seriousjoy.social will take you to the link tree. We have access to everything, including a couple interviews with me if you want to hear some of my backstory, and access to both the company social media and my personal social media, seriousjoy.social. You can also join our email list if you'd like. And then if you would rather listen instead of watch this, which many people do, we are podcasting today, or will be, on Spotify, on Stitcher, and on Apple Podcasts. All righty. And with that, I will take a little drink and then answer a couple questions in the chat. And we end up going 2 hours again. Dear Lord. I guess I'm going to start doing interviews here soon too. So Echoist Expression is asking, do you go into glyphs, symbols of each zodiac? And I should answer here. Do I? Well, sometimes I do. Let's hold on here. I'm messing up here. Here it is. Wrong button. There we go. I do sometimes in pep talks talk about the glyphs and things. I find it super interesting. They all have a meaning and they all have a history. You brought up something that I think is interesting, so I'll lean into it more in the future if you'd like to know more about it. The glyphs are very telling as far as what they symbolize. My favorite glyph, of course, is the sun with the circle and the circle in it. I believe that is a symbol of God and God's creation, basically. Yeah. Yes, thank you. It's $3.99, not $399. Although some people say it is worth the $399. We only charge $4 for the first month. Okay. I love you too, Maddie. Okay, so here's a question. My awesome mama who is watching right now is a Pisces sun and a Pisces rising. Does that mean she got a double dose of karma in this lifetime? No, what it means is that your mom has no filter, in the sense that she doesn't put another personality in to represent her in public. She is what we call WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. She's very transparent as a result. She's not good at lying or hiding things as a result. And she's playing her karma out with all of her ego. It also means that her ego is the real drive of her karma, which means that her ego does get in the way at times. And it also means that her ego is what saves her from certain karma. So what it comes down to with being a double Pisces is her behavior is the determiner of her success. So fortunately for her, she doesn't have to theorize. She doesn't have to contemplate. She doesn't have to know. She just has to do. And if she does, she will change. Thank you for the question, Mystic Gypsy. I love your name too. That's so cool. Hello from Canada, Scarlet Seema. Nice to see you. Okay, this is a good question here. So Amparo, oh, I think I was talking to you. How ironic. I didn't see the name until I posted it. So August is when the life we're born to live starts. When do we get our sea legs? 2024 is revving up to be an incredibly important year for those of us walking up to our soul's purpose now, wondering what's to come. Very good question. I believe we cut our teeth next year. So I believe when Jupiter moves into Gemini, which will be, I think, June of 2024, this is when I start to see that it's time, it's go time. Our manifestation projects are in motion. And I do believe that, at least in this country, we're going to be in some very heated power struggles because I think it's true for all over the world, basically. So allow yourself to get your balance between now and May of 2024. And come summer, come 1 year from now, I think we are all kind of like Jedi's lightsabering. And I think we will be strong in our new, basically Taurus, Jupiter in Taurus is the manifestation. Jupiter in Gemini is the communication, the execution, the task mastering. So things really start to move forward and speed up with Jupiter in Gemini. That's the biggest obvious, but there's tons to talk about with Pluto. Saturn's still in Pisces, but Saturn now moves to the teen degrees, which means now we're actually changing our karma in day-to-day life. This year with Saturn in the early degrees of Pisces, we're changing our karma with just ourselves. So I think we really start to see shift happen in the world 1 year from now. You got 1 year to train, Rocky. Put on the music. Oh, the Friday song. It's Friday. It's finally Friday. Sorry about that. I meant to sing when I came on, but I was a little nervous today. Just too much stuff going on. Oh, wow. Here's an interesting question. Would love to know your thoughts on interceptions. I have a stellium in the 8th house interception. I'd love to know your thoughts on interceptions. All right, Maddie, interception is basically based on a Placidus chart because with the Placidus house system, what you end up having is what we call an intercept, which is that one sign gets completely crunched and one sign gets doubled, okay? So your second house is doubled and your 8th house is crunched. So, no, excuse me. Actually, it's a different house that gets doubled, not that one. So what the intercept ends up doing is it means that you were born completely blocking that energy, usually due to karmic reasons. So the karmic reason will be that stellium of planets in the intercept. Basically, it's sort of like having your arm fall asleep spiritually. It would be those 3 planets, they were asleep when you were born. That means you have to work extra hard to be aware of those issues. You have to put extra attention in the intercept. It's sort of a handicap you have. And one thing I've noticed is I have an intercept in Scorpio and I attract a shift load of Scorpios that fills my intercept. So you'll probably find that you have friends that actually awaken that intercept. And whenever you're confused, to lean on those friends for advice in the areas you're confused, because they ultimately hold the answers. That's why you've attracted them. So it's basically like a vacancy. But the way it looks in my third eye is that the energy is sort of, like how they say, if you're going to go a warp, you actually pinch the universe and pass through. To me, an intercept is when the consciousness has been pinched like that. So you pass through the energy super fast as a result and skip that consciousness. So whatever sign you are intercepted in, you always skip over that state of awareness. So in my step system, you always skip that step, okay? So it would be step 0, and there would be another step based on the sign that you're intercepted in. Hope that helps, Maddie. Okay, I'll do 2 more. Do you suggest I pay more attention to the sun or rising, Pisces or Taurus? Okay, you pay attention to both, but you pay attention to the sun first and the rising second. So the way energy comes in through heaven is it comes in through the sun. So the sun is the source of life. So the sun signs karma must be handled first, because that's the source energy. So I'm a sun in Taurus. That's my source energy. You have to face your source energy first. Then you pay attention to the rising second. So it's a matter of what you eat on your plate first and what you eat second on your plate first. You focus on, I'm not sure which is, if you're a Pisces or a Taurus, but let's say you're a Pisces sun sign and Taurus rising. You would listen to my Pisces advice first and apply that first. I call that the A story. And then you would listen to the Taurus advice second. And you would approach those in that order: Pisces first, Taurus second, or sun sign first, rising second. Okay. One more. Okay. Oh, this is a good question. What does the Venus retrograde mean for those of us born in a Venus retrograde? First of all, you're going to find that this is an easier time for you than normal because the world is blowing in the same direction as you. But if you're born in a Venus retrograde, it means that when it came to love and relationships and balance, you had an extra karmic lesson to learn, and that you were introverted when it came to love. So a Venus retrograde at birth basically means that you are somewhat damaged at self-love. You are damaged at having access to your creativity. You might have lost the love of your life in a past life. You might have lost something your heart really wanted. You were born not really confident about your capacity to connect to others and to bridge a relationship to others, because your relationship to yourself was damaged to the point of timing out before you go forward. In a Venus retrograde, it's much easier to focus on yourself. The whole world has stopped moving forward creatively and they've gone inward. So everyone's just like you during that time. And so you find that you're not having to swim upstream, so to speak, right? But the thing is a Venus retrograde, at some point, your Venus goes direct. So if you're born in Venus retrograde, at some point in your life, it goes direct. And so what that means is during a Venus retrograde, that might be one of the times that you finally lick your Venus retrograde issue. You finally figure it out. So every time Venus retrogrades, that's an opportunity for you to unhook yourself from whatever the Venus retrograde karma may have been. So where it's a very good event is this could be the time where you finally understand the self-love capacities, particularly this one, Venus and Leo, the self-love issue that had your Venus retrograde in the first place. And so your Venus could go direct at this point. So it's a very positive time. Soki Suze, thank you for your question. All right. Okay. I think that's great. I think we're at a point now where we should probably say farewell for now. My friends, I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you for being a part of this love movement that we are a part of here at Serious Joy. Thank you to everyone on all platforms for tuning in today. I'm having a blast going live, and I'm getting a bit more acquainted with this technology. So thank you for your patience with me. This is going to be a powerful week. Please remember to do something, not just think it, to do something on that full moon on Tuesday. I'll be back next Friday with another Friday Live or Namaste Today Live. Until then, please remember, I love you. Live, love, be. Ciao for now.